this is Rachel here. Welcome to Financial Literacy Lunch Bytes, Session 7. Let's wait a little while for the rest of the attendees who has registered to join in. While I set up my computer. Okay. Okay, maybe I should start. Once again, welcome everybody to Financial Literacy Lunch Bytes Session 7. And for those who are watching this, who are with me for the first time here, welcome. And for those who are listening on a podcast at a later date, welcome as well. So yes, we are planning to have a podcast for this. Will be launched soon. Yeah. So this is a financial literacy lunch by. This is a weekly recurring webinar series, and each week I will be focusing on one topic. The format that I use, for those who are familiar with what I do, I'm essentially a life coach focusing in the area of financial literacy education. And I work with people in the area of cash flow, using a lot of psychology. And in the methodology that I utilize a lot on using neuro-linguistic programming, NLP for short. And with that, I actually, one of the tools that we use in NLP, there's lots of tools and processes, but one of the tools and techniques, one of the tools that we use in NLP is that we ask a lot of very good questions. And I like to use this analogy because it's very symbolic. It's similar to peeling back an onion, where, you know, onion, they have different multiple layers. So when we peel back the outer layer, we go deep in depth into the issue. And as we ask more questions, we peel back more layers and we go back deeper in depth into the issue and the question at hand. So why do I introduce NLP into this, and why do I mention the thing about questions? Is because I wanted to let you know, in the course of my webinars, in the course of the series of webinars and stuff, I will be asking a lot of questions. And the questions that I ask, the intention is to trigger thoughts, and anything that come up is just right at that point in time. Notice your thoughts, notice how you feel, notice what bodily sensations that you have when it comes to the questions that I ask, and how you react or respond, So every time I ask a question, I will remember to pause for a little while, and then, think about the questions. It's meant to trigger thoughts that, will come up at each point. So at this point in time, let me share my screen. Yeah, okay. So that's right. So this is the session 7. And I always like to start with this, that we are all at point A in our lives, and there is a goal that we want to reach. And that would be point B. So the reason why I always like to start with this, because there is a result that we get from doing a lot of things, and there is always a goal or a place that we want to reach to in everything that we do. For example, why do you wake up in the morning and go to work? You want to get paid. Why do you want to spend time with your family? You want to know them better. You want to improve your relations, stuff like that. So for everything that you do, there is always a objective, an end goal. So where we are all at now is point A, and point B is where we want to get to. And along the way, we want to get from point A to point B. And as you can see from the slide, that it is not going to be a straight line. More often than not, we will go round, not necessarily in circles, but we will move towards a certain direction and make adjustments along the way. And why do I emphasize this as well? At the beginning of all my webinars, I always share this slide. This is because what I do is about bringing you from where you are now, getting clarity on where you are and getting clarity on where you want to be. So it is a shift, it is a movement, it is a path, or rather a set of actions that you take with me that will bring you to point B, that will get you to the result and the goal that you want to get to. So that's why I always share this. And when, even as I will share, I will be sharing some of the information, bear in mind the point B that you want to get to, and think about the motivations, the goals that you have. Okay, so to this week's topic, I am going to talk about spending behaviors and spending behavior and habits. And why do we have, how we spend and what our behaviors are when it comes to spending and what habits we have. They all come from our underlying values and beliefs. We have a underlying values, beliefs, what we believe, what do we believe about things. And a lot of those, you'll be surprised, come from incidents or things that happened that we absorbed when we were young. From age 0 to 9 years old, as kids, we are at a stage where kids are always during that age, they are at a stage where they are absorbing information, they are picking up things from people. So those are the age where kids, if you have kids, you'll notice, you'll be surprised that this will be the age range where they pick up things very, very fast. Yeah. So coming back to spending behaviors, why do we, what are the underlying values and beliefs that you have? So think about in your own life. When you spend, what are the things that you spend on? What do you spend on exactly? And think about, what are your habits like? Do you have to buy things every time you leave the house? I have friends who tell me, and sometimes my clients as well, that every time they step out of the house, or rather every time they step into a mall, they have to buy something, no matter how small. You know, even if it's a $2 thing, you know, go to a $2 shop or anything, so long as they step into a mall, they have to buy something when they leave the mall. So there are always psychological aspects linked to our behaviors and habits. So yeah, so it's about, think about what do you spend on, what are your spending behaviors, think about what actions do you do. Things like, do you buy something every time you leave the house? Do you order delivery service for your meals? Nowadays it's very convenient. There is Grab, there is what else is there? I know there are a lot of food delivery apps around. Yeah. Yeah. And do you take cab everywhere you go? Well, I'm not promoting Grab, but Grab is my favorite, so I always remember Grab. I know I have a lot of apps on my phone for delivery, for taking cab as well. And those are for emergencies and for times where I feel that it's necessary. And think about your spending behaviors. Do you spend on yourself or on other people, right? And do you shop online often? So when we talk about spending behaviors, it is about, think of how you spend your money and what you spend on. So it will be like, do you value convenience over time? Would you rather pay someone to do it? I know of applications, mobile apps out there that allow you to, you know, look for people to run errands for you as well. Yeah, so nowadays, you know, it's about thinking about, what do you value most? Do you value convenience more, or do you value time more? So it's about what you spend on usually reflects what is important to you. So if you are there thinking that, okay, I spend on perhaps food, I spend on transport, I spend on clothing, all the necessary stuff, let me tell you today that there is a deeper underlying reason for why you spend the way that you spend too. So because when it comes to food, right, there are different, you will know there are different ranges, price ranges of food as well. The hawker center price level, the restaurant level price level, the atas hotel level prices. So there are different range. And when it comes to food, transportation, clothing, stuff, groceries, a lot of things, there are different levels as well. So think about when you spend, what is the trigger for you to spend, and what it is that perhaps when you encounter it, you always feel the need to want to do to want to buy. Yeah. So when we talk about spending behaviors, I remember I have this client. He has a very high salary. He's a 5 income earner. And he came to me wanting to know what he spends on. He was, well, he is a very big picture person, and he doesn't like to look at details, which is also why one of the reasons why he came to me. And he wants to know exactly what he's spending on, because he is perplexed. Can you imagine? I mean, logically, if you earn 5 figure every month, you should at least be able to save a little bit of it, right? And I know, they say the living standard in Singapore is high, but it's not so high. Well, it depends on how you spend too, but it's not so high as to, you have to spend 5 figure income on your every month on yourself and your family. So he came to me, and then I actually break it down for him into categories, such that he, being a big picture person, he appreciates it because there are huge overviews, and he gets to know exactly what he spends on, and he is aware. And I always say awareness is the first key. It's the first step to anything, and it's the key to success, because when you're aware, naturally, you will put a little bit more effort in being conscious of what you spend on. Yeah. And I've seen that happening time and again in many of my clients, and that's true. So so you can also do it yourself. Take your expense statement or take your monthly credit card. Nowadays, in a lot of the online banking platforms, you can actually log in, and sometimes they will auto categorize it for you. Well, my experience is it's not exactly 100% accurate, but it gives a very good estimate of what you have spent on. And if that helps, you can more or less know what you're spending on and get your awareness from there, right? So in this slide, I wanted to share about how our behavior comes from values, beliefs, and what the world sees. So you see, in everything that we do, in our action, it all comes from, I mentioned earlier, that it comes from values and beliefs in our lives. So if people have this compulsive behavior to spend every time they log onto this online website, for example, if they go to Q10, every time they go to Q10, they must buy something, there is an underlying reason why. And how I work with my clients on this is we find out the underlying reason and we shift it. I don't believe in using discipline to do a lot of things, simply because how long can you hold that discipline for? Would you be able to hold it for the rest of their lives? Like the other time I read an article that I found it quite interesting. It says that there is this watch that you wear on your hand, and when you exceed the timing, or rather because I was looking at the time now, when you overspend, not sure how they track, I didn't really read the detailed article, but when you overspend, they will actually have a shock you. Then I was thinking, oh my goodness, so if a person that overspends for the rest of his life, does it mean that he will be shocked for the rest of his life? That is quite interesting to me. Yeah. So all our behaviors comes from values and beliefs. So moving on, I want to talk a little bit about credit cards. And they are very, very in tune with our spending behaviors. When you spend, most people use credit card. And when it comes to credit card, I want to explain about how people don't like to open letters especially when it's bills, and yet they know that they have to make payments. So statistics have shown that out of the whole population of Singapore who are holding on to credit cards, can you imagine there are 60% of them who don't pay the minimum sum. So my advice to you is, even if you have missed the minimum payment, well, okay, firstly, when you use the credit card, make sure you pay off in full. If you don't, if you miss the payment, don't continue to use the card, because they will continue to charge interest on whatever amount, on any new purchases they are charged to the card as well. So yeah, so I want to explain a little bit about how credit card works in when you start, how the interest rate works. So on day one, imagine on day one you spend a $1,000, right? You charge $1,000 to your credit card. So then you know, we all have grace period when it comes to making payment, because it's always usually end of the month, or after 20 days they will start to, you know, ask you to pay a bill. So assuming you on day one you spend $1,000, and on day 20 your credit card bill is due, so you have to make your payment. But if you missed it, so what will happen? The bank will charge, of course they will charge interest. And what do? They will backdate your interest charges to the date of purchase on day one. So and this is something that a lot of people are not aware, and they assume that, okay, if I miss my day payment on day 20, then I will continue to, you know, the bank will start charging me from day 20. No, that's not true. If you read the terms and conditions on the credit card, they say that the date of interest that they charge will be backdated from the day that you purchase. And well, we all sign on the terms and conditions. We all agreed to it, you know, when we use the card. So yeah, that's what it says. So in credit cards, when it comes to credit card, what are the interest rate charges that they have? You know, nowadays, it's no longer 24%. The interest rate charges have increased. It ranges from 26 to 29%. And so the advice that I have for people is to verify the transactions in their card and to pay off their cards in full. If it's not possible, at least pay off the minimum amount, right? So here I also want to highlight a bit on the credit card. You know, this particular slide is taken from the MAS website. The government has in Singapore, the government has a website called Money Sense, and there are a lot of easily explained. They even have a YouTube video sharing with you information on that you need to know when it comes to credit card. So here, the things that I want to highlight is interest is charged on a daily basis for the outstanding amount in your credit card, right? And the second thing that I want to highlight, which is what I explained earlier, interest will also be charged on any new purchases that you continue to use, which is why I said earlier that if you, well, most of us, or rather most people I know, have more than one credit card. They have a few. So if you miss payment on one credit card, not that I'm asking you to miss your payment, but if in the event that you have no choice but to miss a payment on one credit card, stop using that card, use another credit card instead, right? That's to leverage on the whole system. So yeah. So, and for simplicity, I just want to share this example. So assuming a person has an initial debt of $5,000, and with a well, the minimum sum, monthly minimum sum is usually $50, or minimum 3%, whichever is higher, right? And the interest rate is for overdue outstanding payment is, let's assume that this card is taking 25% per annum. So what is the time, and that the time taken, so assuming that if you have a debt of $5,000 and the bank is charging you an interest rate of 25%, and you only pay off, the minimum sum, and assuming you take your time to pay off the minimum sum, and how long will it take you to eventually pay it off? It will take you 175 months. And that in years is 14.5 years. Number of years that it takes you to pay off all your debt, which is only a 5,000. Can you imagine taking 14 and a half years to pay off a 5,000 debt? And that is a long, 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 long time. And the other thing that I need to highlight is the total amount that you pay eventually, the original debt of 5,000 plus the interest, after 14 and a half years is 13.5K, $13,500. And this is 3 times the original debt. So, and that is simply because of the interest rate that is very expensive. So if you ask me, there are other ways of clearing off this and to ensure that you don't pay as high a credit card debt as possible. So yeah, there are ways around this. So this is the one that I want to highlight. Almost 3 times the original debt, having to pay $13,500 for a $5,000 debt. So yeah. So for today, every week I have a exercise that I want to leave you with, because I want it to be a practical sessions. So think about today, the exercise that I want you to do is to think about what are your spending habits. What do you spend on? Do you have to buy something every time you leave the house? Go through all the questions that I asked earlier. Do you order delivery service? Do you take cab? Do you spend on yourself or other people? Do you have certain brand preference over others? And know that clarity is power. And think about what are your spending habits that you currently have in your life. Remember, just being aware of it is the first step to any shifts that you want to make. So the second thing is to go through all your credit card bills and know exactly what your current situation is. And like I mentioned earlier, clarity is power. Know exactly what you have, and if it's good, then good. You know that all your bills are paid. You did not miss out anything. If it's bad, at least you know how deep the shithole is, and then you can start working on getting out of it, right? So either good or bad, it is clarity that gives you the power to move on.